Today's section will be focused on the soil. जमीन जो है, मिट्टी जो है, उसको कहेंगे काली मिट्टी है, वो बहुत अच्छी होती है। काली मिट्टी में कपास उगता है। ऑल दैट इज सॉइल रिलेटेड विल बी टॉकिंग टुडे। एंड मेरे लिए ये सब्जेक्ट बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, इसलिए क्योंकि जो जमीन जैसी होती है वैसे ही आपका प्रोड्यूस होता है। इट्स एज सिंपल एज दैट। आपकी जमीन फलद्रुप होगी तो आपके पास उसके फल भी बहुत अच्छे आएंगे। सो I'm focusing on this just almost the whole day on this only, and then we'll understand the microorganisms. So now जमीन जो होती है उसके साथ microorganisms भी linked होते हैं. We will understand how these are the bacteria, the microbes, the viruses, and all these things that are intertwined with the soil, making the soil, rich. And this is how that successful soil or gardens are actually coming up because of the soil, right? Uh, what else we can say is that insects are also in the playing their vital role in it. Like for example, we know that bees, they collect honey from the flowers, so they also make the flower fruit. So they fertilize the flower and then we get the fruit. So it's very important, the bees. उसके सिवाय बहुत सारे इंसेक्ट्स के बारे में आज जानेंगे। लेडी बग्स जो है, एम्फिड्स है, उसके बारे में थोड़ा बहुत जानकारी लेंगे। व्हाट विल हैपन इज आई हैव अ लॉट ऑफ वीडियो कंटेंट, सो मैं है ना वीडियो पोस्ट करता रहता हूँ इसमें ग्रुप में। So make sure you watch those videos because they are linked with the lessons that you need to learn for gardening. So आपके पास जो भी information क्लास में दिया जाएगा, that will be like communicating या with concluding with what the videos I am also sharing. So ये बहुत important है कि आपके पास videos भी जो है उसको भी आप देखते रहना। रोल ऑफ वाटर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। कैसा टाइप का पानी आपके पास है, आप हार्ड वाटर यूज कर रहे हो, सॉफ्ट वाटर यूज कर रहे हो, ये सब चीजें भी इंपॉर्टेंट है। सो दिस इज वेरी ऑल्सो क्रूशियल थिंग अबाउट प्लांट्स, बिकॉज हर रोज जैसे हम लोगों को पानी चाहिए वैसे प्लांट्स को भी एक दो दिन में पानी चाहिए। और आपका पानी जैसा होगा उस हिसाब से आपका फ्रूटिंग भी होगा और उसके हिसाब से आपके फ्लावरिंग और लीव्स भी उसके साथ डेवलप होंगे। पानी के ऊपर ही बहुत सारा डिपेंड होता है। So soil and water will be the main focus, and the pH of the soil and the pH of the water is what we are going to focus today on. So we have not many people joined, but I'll just start because again, I think people are maybe thinking that they have the video, so they are not joining on time. The thing is that you will miss out on interactive content and you cannot ask me a question if you are not joining. So I would urge people to join directly when we are getting online. Apart from that, let's just start with the seminar. Today's, this is just like a couple of days ago, right? This is the date of when this article came out. 1 लाख से ज्यादा साल हो गए, उसमें आज का दिन मतलब this month, for example, this month was the hottest. This is not just made up. As you can see, this is like something that is forecasted after all scientific research. In 120 years, this month was the hottest. So this is the article which was published on 27 July, and we have to be very careful now because this is happening almost every day. कहीं ना कहीं नया records हम तोड़ते ही जा रहे हैं। और यहाँ पर तो बारिश हो रही है इंडिया में, बट ऑन द नॉर्दर्न हेमिस्फीयर, इक्वेटर से ऊपर जो होता है उस देशों में अभी बहुत बड़ी फायर्स और बहुत बड़ी आग का शिकार हो रहा है। So because we are almost at the area where we are touching the equator, we are not understanding or we are not knowing what is happening. But this is a very uh, like a hot month elsewhere, and this is the CNN report which was published on the 27th of July. So very interesting point that 120 years में इस महीने बहुत गर्म हुआ था। Now what is that leading to? ज्यादा गर्मी का मतलब है, आई एम बाय द वे टॉकिंग इन हिंदी also because I think my audience is a little bit more Hindi, so I'll be just conversing in Hindi a little bit more. ज्यादातर क्या होता है गर्मी में, जो आपके पास सूर्य की किरणें जो आते हैं वो वाष्पीकरण भी बढ़ा देते हैं। लाइक अभी अपने आप के ऊपर एक ब्लैंकेट लगा दो और ऊपर से जो है वो सूर्य की किरण आते ही रहे। और ब्लैंकेट किसका है? धुआं का, पोल्यूशन का, फैक्ट्री का और सब चीजें का धुआं होता है। तो व्हाट हैपेंस इज द सन्स रेज आर ट्रैप्ड, एंड व्हेन द सन्स रेज आर ट्रैप्ड इट क्रिएट्स इवेपोरेशन। तो सब जगह से पानी जो है वो वाष्पीकरण होकर के क्लाउड्स बनता है और गिरता रहता है बार बार। So a lot of rains happen because of that. A lot of droughts also happen because of that, because गर्मी की जगह पर से पानी ऊंचा जाता है और डेजर्ट में से पानी निकल करके दूसरी जगह पर चला जाता है. So this is what is going to happen. Even places which are not receiving the rain, they'll start receiving the rain, and some places which are dry or they were green, they will start turning dry. So this is the extreme effect of what happens when there is lack of uh, I mean, this when there is a lot of heat on the global level. So this is what happens. And now we can see also that the food prices are increasing. Like, if you are remembering something that was like dal, I remember it was started about 30 to 40 rupees. I am talking about 10 years ago. This is the rate that it was. तुअर की दाल जो कॉमन होती है हमारे इंडियन फूड क्विजीन्स में, that was starting at about 20 to 30 to 40 rupees. It increased to 50, and now I believe it's something like 120 or something like that. So this is exponential hikes in prices. और ये सब चीजें इसलिए हो रही है क्योंकि ग्लोबल फूड लेवल्स जो होते हैं वो dwindle हो रहे हैं. जब एक चीज मिलना ही कम हो रही है, या लोग फार्मिंग ही कम कर रहे हैं उसका, या खेती ही कम कर रहे हैं उसकी, तो उसकी डिमांड जो है वो बढ़ जाती है और सप्लाई जो होती है वो छोटी रहती है. तो आप क्या करते हैं, प्राइसेस इंक्रीज कर देते हैं. सो दिस इज व्हाट इज हैपनिंग. प्राइसेस बढ़ रहे हैं चीजों के, खास करके फूड कोमोडिटीज के. एंड वी हैव टू बी वेरी alert about these things, because it doesn't matter how much you earn at the end of the day. If it goes, a larger budget of your income goes to the food only, then it doesn't matter, if you're earning that 5,000 extra or 10,000 extra, वो तो वैसे भी खाने में ही चला जाएगा जो prices उसके increase हो गए. So you have to be very careful about these things. So it's not about fighting or getting more money. It's about making your own food. Like, you can either fight and say कि हाँ मैं तो ज्यादा पैसा कमा लूंगा अब तो, बट यू आर स्टिल नॉट गेटिंग द प्योरिटी. आपको जो खाना मिल रहा है वो पेस्टिसाइड से भरा हुआ है, वो उसमें जीएमओ जेनेटिकली मॉडिफाइड चीजें से भरी हुई है. तो आप क्या करेंगे, उसमें क्या फायदा है. एज यू कैन सी इन दिस टमाटर्स, these are normally tomatoes that are left outside, and when they are normally left outside, this is how they decompose. So ये जो है वो एक्चुअली अच्छी निशानी है. ये जो है ना, इसमें लिखा है कंट्रोल, वो एक अच्छी निशानी है. अब वही टमाटर में जिसमें जेनेटिकली मॉडिफाइड जो किया गया है, आप उसको देख सकते हैं, वो वैसे की वैसे ही रह रहे, उसमें कुछ भी बदलाव नहीं हो रहा है, राइट. सो अमुक दिन के बाद, मतलब दिस लाइक माइट बी लाइक आफ्टर 15 डेज, 15 डेज के बाद सड़ जानी चाहिए कोई भी चीज. बट ये जो दो चीज है उसमें जेनेटिकली मॉडिफाइड सेल्स उसके किए गए, तो दे आर नॉट डिकम्पोजिंग. यू कैन सी दे आर स्टेइंग फ्रेश. So that means there is some sort of wrong that is happening there. वैसे भी आप देखोगे कि दूध जो होता है वो 24 घंटे में अंदर खराब हो जाता है. अब प्योरिटी ऑफ लेवल ऑफ दूध देखो आप, दूध जो होता है it's sort of a pure thing, like it is a whole food, we can say. When milk products itself are like decomposing away within 24 hours, फट जाता है दूध. So that goes to show, ज्यादा से ज्यादा कोई भी चीज फ्रूट और वेजिटेबल होता है वो ज्यादा से ज्यादा एक हफ्ता होता है अच्छा उसका रहने का. दैट इज द वे द नेचर इज, दैट इज द साइक्लिसिटी ऑफ नेचर. आपने उसको कंज्यूम नहीं कर लिया तो वो माइक्रोब्स के लिए खाना बन जाता है. दिस इज द वे द फूड चेन वर्क्स. आपके लिए बनाई गई चीज है, आप उसको कंज्यूम नहीं करते तो उसके छोटे जो होते हैं उसके माइक्रोब्स जो ज्यादा मात्रा में है इस दुनिया में, एंड्स है, माइक्रोब्स है, वायरसेस है, वो करोड़ों की गिनती में है, हमारे शरीर में ही घूम रहे हैं अभी. सो उसके लिए खाना, या बाहर जो जीव जंतु उसके लिए खाना बनाने के लिए प्रकृति में ऐसी व्यवस्था की है. तो इसको हम रोक रहे हैं. वी आर यूजिंग जेनेटिकली मॉडिफाइड थिंग्स एंड वी आर स्टॉपिंग इट फ्रॉम रोटिंग. नाउ ये रोटना सड़ना बंद हो गया तो क्या हो जाता है, इट इज फुल ऑफ पॉइजन. सिंपल एज दैट. जैसे कि आप सोचिए, आपके दिमाग से कोई भी चीज सड़ नहीं रही है तो उसमें क्या हो सकता है, कंजर्व कर रहा है ना, कोई भी चीज को, एनर्जी को कंजर्व करके रखा है उसने, तो क्या हो सकता है, उसमें पॉइजन ही हो सकता है. what can go bad is pure, what can stay the same is poison. That's why we always argue कि what is better, coconut water is better or soda is better, is sugar cane juice better or is soda better, because soda is there in your 1 month 2 months in the same shop, nothing happens to that soda bottle. So there is some sort of there's some sort of chemicals that are put inside that keeps it like the same position. without getting decomposed. But we have to understand the cyclicity nature of this whole earth is that things are in a cycle. कोई भी चीज बनती है फिर बिगड़ जाती है फिर से बनती रहती है. This is how nature works. But when we use genetically modified things and stuff like that to slow down the process just for economical gains, then what we have is something called the poison on the platter. There is a movie on this. I will share the link. It is quite an eye-opening movie about how India is being fed these poisons indirectly through the foods that we are eating. So it's very important that we also learn about the truths that we are facing, as especially as in things like food. It's very personal to us. हर एक पर्सनल आदमी के लिए, एक पर्सनल व्यक्ति के लिए ये एक पर्सनल चीज हो जाती है, तो उसमें कैसे ये फूड अफेक्ट करता है. So today's topic, as we said, is about the soil. What is good soil? Now, if you consider good soil, a soil which is balanced in pH, उसमें बहुत सारा humus है. There are types of soils. For example, carbon dioxide is a very important part which plays into the soil's fertility. और कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड जो है वो कैसे जाता है सॉइल के अंदर, तो वो ह्यूमस की तरह जाता है. नाउ व्हाट इज ह्यूमस? ह्यूमस इज डेड एंड डिकम्पोजिंग लीफ मैटर और ऑर्गेनिक मैटर. मैं फिर से कहता हूं, ऑर्गेनिक मैटर मतलब जो चीज सड़ सकती है उसको ऑर्गेनिक मैटर कहते हैं. या आपको याद होगा कि ग्रीन डस्टबिन आते हैं, उसमें जो भी चीज जो वेट होती है, जो सड़ सकती है, किचन वेस्ट होता है, उसमें लीव्स होते हैं, बहुत सारी चीज जो सड़ जाती है, गर्मी पकड़ती है जब सड़ती है तब, उसको ऑर्गेनिक कहते हैं. सो this is the kind of things that are there, and you need to understand that this is called organic matter, and that organic matter is actually carbon. It is a solid form of carbon. Carbon dioxide to gas hai, but the solid form of that carbon is this humus, decomposing matter. Even the tree trunk is made of carbon. We are also made of carbon. So these carbons are connected with the hydrogen molecules and the oxygen molecules, and this is called glucose. So हम लोग जो है वो ज्यादातर ग्लूकोज से बने हुए, और ये प्लांट्स से आता है जो ग्लूकोज होता है वो, है ना. तो प्लांट्स टेक इन कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड and water from the environment and the soil, and it converts into glucose. Now the glucose works as the sap of the soil, the fruit of the plant, and the like for example, the glucose also comes into the roots. Like sometimes potatoes, they are going in the roots, so that is also glucose. It stores its glucose there. So that's how the plant survives, and it gives off oxygen. So this is this whole cycle of how the carbon acts in this equation. And artificially giving plants nitrates or nitrites only creates imbalance. अभी हम लोग कहेंगे कि फर्टिलाइजर डालते ना, क्या प्रॉब्लम है? जो बंजर जमीन है उसमें फर्टिलाइजर डालते, तो व्हाट विल हैपन इज यू विल क्रिएट एन अपसर्ज. बहुत सारे न्यूट्रिएंट्स आप एक साथ डाल देंगे, और वो न्यूट्रिएंट्स में ज्यादातर मात्रा में सॉल्ट्स होते हैं. Now, those salts are actually going to harm the small earthworms and microbes and bacteria there. And these are the ones that make trenches and holes where this root system can grow easily into the porous ground. Now, this ground, if it didn't have the earthworms, if it didn't have the microbes and bacteria and viruses, this earth will be very, very hard. Cement जैसी hard हो जाती है ये जो earth है वो. But ये microbes और bacteria की वजह से वो soft रहती है. So this is very important to understand. So now we will just go to the next slide. What kind of soil there has to be? So this is the soil. I mean, this is the sand. This is the particle of the sand. How you can see, there's a lot of gap in the between. So जब भी ये पानी हम इस sand में डालते हैं तो तुरंत पानी नीचे उतर जाता है. So this is one like criteria, that there has to be a little bit of sand in your soil, but at the same time not all of it should be just the sand. There has to be a little bit of silt also. Now silt are smaller granules like 0.002 mm to 0.05 mm. These are the smaller granules. ये थोड़ा सा पानी को पकड़ के रखता है, एंड रूट्स को भी इजीली इसके अंदर चले जाते हैं. नाउ द लास्ट जो आइटम है इसमें जो क्ले होता है. Now these are like long particles. They don't allow the water to go down. So we can always say that where there is a lot of clay soil, you will see that the water is not going deep because of the clay cannot, I mean the clay does not allow the water to go underground. So there has to be a little bit of clay also into your soil, and this combination is now called the loamy soil. So you have the sand, and then you have the silt, right? And you have a little bit of clay also combined with the waste. You can see the black color now. You will see the where is the black color coming from? Now the black color is coming from the organic carbon. As I had mentioned before, these are leaves, twigs, ऑर्गेनिक वेस्ट, जो चीज डिकम्पोज हो सकती है, जो सड़ सकती है, वही सब चीजें उसको ब्लैक कन्वर्ट हो जाती है, ब्लैक कलर में जब सड़ जाती है। तब लीव्स भी जब सड़ जाते हैं, when the leaves decompose, they start turning black. So this all combined together, you can see there's some twigs there, small light small branches there, you know. So when you combine all this, it becomes the compost soil that you need in your garden or in your pots or wherever you are making this sort of things. So it's always important what to put in your garden, and this is the one of the most crucial things. The soil has to be humus, it has to be having silt, a little bit of clay, and a little bit of sand also. Mostly if you have a lot of humus also, that is not a problem, it's actually good. Humus is dead and decomposing matter. जैसे कि मैंने बताया पत्ते जो होते हैं, I'll just jump a little bit here before we go back. The soil needs to be full of humus. लाइक उसमें अंदर बहुत सारा कार्बन होना चाहिए। कार्बन फिर से मैंने बोल रहा हूँ कहाँ से आया, तो कार्बन पत्तों से आता है, कार्बन वेस्ट फूड से आता है, कार्बन छिलकों से आता है। So all these things are there, and this is how the carbon is coming. And this carbon element is the one which you can identify itself with a lot of other elements. So it has the ability to make covalent bonds with other elements, you know. So that means it combines with hydrogen, it combines with oxygen. कार्बन एक ऐसी चीज है जो बहुत सारे एलिमेंट्स के साथ कंबाइन होकर के काम करती है. So though you need carbon in your soil, so that's the important part here. ठीक है. And we just said that how we get the carbon. The carbon is in all the things, the food, that the peels that we use, and उसको सड़ा करके ऐसे सड़ाओगे तो वो सॉइल काली बन जाएगी, उसमें एक तरह की खुशबू आती है. There is a particular fragrance that you will feel when you are decomposing this properly. जब सड़ जाती है तब मिट्टी की खुशबू जिसको कहते हैं, जब पहली बारिश आती है, you have this smell. What is that smell? That is the smell that bacteria are producing when they are getting the rain on top of it. So that smell that you're getting is actually rhizobium bacteria and azotobacter bacteria reacting with the water. That's how you get the smell. Okay, so these bacteria are everywhere in the soil, and those are the bacteria that convert nitrogen which is in the air and convert it into nitrites, and these nitrites are taken up by the roots to the plant and made into flowers and made into the branch and made into the food produce. But what we are doing is we are using urea. Urea is a form of nitrites, and now we are using it artificially on plants. What happens is the plants will definitely get nitrogen, but also the soil will get salts. यूरिया जो होता है उसके अंदर salts होते हैं. That's how the soil gets damaged and the earthworms die, because the earthworms cannot handle the salt. Imagine your skin is made of like the earthworm. कितना नाजुक होता है earthworm, और उसके ऊपर आप salt डालते हो. Imagine what happens. That earthworm will just die in a couple of seconds. So this is what we are doing. We are keeping on increasing the usage of urea and even fertilizers in our own gardens, like artificial fertilizers, packed fertilizers. And whereas this is all available for free, you know, all the pH of these things is balanced, all the chemicals of this can be decomposed to make good elements, like you can have iron, zinc, copper, all these can be decomposed again, और वो फिर से जमीन में आ सकते हैं और जमीन में आकर के मिट्टी बन जाती है. But we are throwing this out, we are telling it to the कूड़ा वाला, take it away. ये सब जो होती है वो actually important चीजें होती है. If you can just make a small dig hole like this, or you can make a pile like this, and you can put up pipes here, like these pipes are there to make the air circulation there. So if you have a lot of waste, a lot of leaves you are using, you know, you can just collect the leaves, any leaves, it doesn't matter, you can collect even the neem leaves. So once you collect those leaves and you make it into a pile like this, the one you're seeing here, so what happens is this pile within a couple of months it decomposes to make compost soil which looks like this, you know. So this is the small way that you can convert carbon which is in the form of leaves and convert it into black soil, which is in the form that is called solid carbon and which is called humus, in other words. So, anybody has any question right now? We covered a lot of topics just till now, but I think it's really important that we get this part very clear. आर्टिफिशियल नाइट्रेट्स आप यूज करोगे तो क्या होगा, एक दिन के लिए, 2 दिन के लिए बहुत सारे न्यूट्रिएंट्स मिल जाएंगे प्लांट्स को. प्लांट विल एक्चुअली नॉट डेवलप द रूट्स. उसको लगेगा कि मेरे को मिल गया खाना. So the roots also will be shallow. So if you are using artificial fertilizers in garden, you have to be sure that this will be not sustainable. है ना? I believe somebody is raising. Yes, Shital, you have a question?
जैसे ये आपने पत्ते का ये बनाया है, जो
Yes.
कंपोस्ट बना रहे हैं, इसमें मिट्टी भी मिला रहे हैं?
हाँ, ओके. सो आई विल गाइड यू टू द बेस्ट वे. मैं आपको क्या आइडिया दे सकता हूँ इसमें. जितना भी
हाँ।
पोरस होगा, जितना भी हवा
हुँ,
उसके अंदर जा सकती है, आप उसको इसके मात्रा में सॉइल डालिए. बट इफ यू जस्ट कीप द ऑर्गेनिक वेस्ट itself just like this, you will have to
हुँ,
obviously cover it up. So if you cover it up also, it's
हुँ,
okay that you can cover it up with soil, but then you also have to leave place for the air to enter. If you don't allow the air to enter, it will not decompose as fast. एक महीने की जगह 2 महीने
हुँ,
लगेगा. So that's why
ओके।
these compost pits are actually opened up within a couple of 2 to 3 weeks. They open it up, they turn it around. जो अंदर माल है वो बाहर लेके आते हैं, जो बाहर होता है वो अंदर जाता है. They just turn it around and then pack it up again. you know
हुँ,
so this is another way of doing it. It's labor intensive, but I have another technique which I use for gardening myself, and I will show you. It's like using earthworms but in buckets. So like
ओके।
there are 3 buckets, और उसके अंदर जो है वो ऊपर के जो बकेट में आप किचन के वेस्ट डालते जाओ, और नीचे के बकेट में जो बीच वाली बकेट है उसमें होल्स होते हैं जिसमें अर्थवर्म्स है. So what will
हुँ,
come
हुँ,
is the earthworms will come up, they will eat the organic materials, and then when they finish up, they will go down, and you will get the collection of their waste. अर्थवर्म का जो वेस्ट होता है, जो डेफिकेशन होता है, वो कलेक्ट हो जाएगा बीच की बकेट में, और नीचे की बकेट में आप उसको लास्ट में आप उसको रख दोगे तो वो नीचे भी चले जाते हैं. तो यू आर जस्ट
ओके।
रिसाइकलिंग द बकेट्स एंड पुटिंग इट इनसाइड ईच अदर, वन बाय आफ्टर द अदर, एंड लास्ट में आपके पास कंपोस्ट रेडी हो जाएगा. सो इट्स
हुँ,
ऑल अबाउट टाइम. आपके पास कितना टाइम है? आपके पास 2-3 महीने हैं, सो कंपोस्टिंग इज द बेस्ट आइडिया. इफ यू वांट टू डू इट फास्टर विद इन अ वीक, सो यू कैन यूज अर्थवर्म्स फॉर दैट. you know so this is the
हुँ,
types of ideas that we can use. But yes, your question is that if we are using the leaves, should we
हाँ,
use like soil with it? So if it is adding to the porousness, definitely you can use it, you can mix it. समटाइम्स इट एड्स पोरसनेस ना, हवा के बीच में जाने के लिए तो आप सॉइल डालते हो थोड़ा सा, तो वो इजी हो जाता है. सो दैट्स अ गुड आइडिया. लिटिल
ओके।
बिट ऑफ सॉइल यू
तो
कैन.
आपने सॉइल और लीव्स को मिला करके बस ऐसे हीप बना दिया है उसका पहाड़, और वो
या
बीच में एयर के लिए पाइप है, और
राइट.
उसको हम अल्टी-पल्टी करते रहेंगे ताकि
राइट.
उसमें एयर जाता रहे।
एग्जैक्टली, एग्जैक्टली. अनदर ट्रिक
और
आई कैन गिव यू इज दैट, आप गाय का जो गोबर होता है, आप उसको
हुँ,
समझ सकते हैं कि गाय आज घास खाती है, राइट?
हाँ,
लगभग 15 kg उसको चाहिए हर रोज खाना. बट इट डेफिकेट्स दैट वेस्ट द नेक्स्ट डे. दूसरे दिन जो होती है वो उतना सारा
हाँ,
घास को पॉटी कर देती है. तो वो
हाँ,
कैसे किया? मतलब 24 घंटे के अंदर ग्रीन ग्रास थी, उसके पेट में गई, और दूसरे दिन में काला मिट्टी हो गया ऑलमोस्ट. हाउ इज दैट
हुँ,
पॉसिबल? So you have to understand there are bacteria at work in its stomach. The
हुँ,
cow has 5 stomachs. The first one is
हुँ,
for storing the grass. The second one is just taking in the bulge, and first process is bacteria is there, and then the second process the bacteria are working. 5 stomachs the food passes, and then it defecates. That's how the Lakshmi ji is supposedly said to be living in the gobar, because it is having
हुँ,
so much nutrients. Those grass is broken down into its basic elements, and that is there in the cow waste. So we can mimic that by mixing that गाय का जो वेस्ट होता है, गाय का
हुँ,
पोटी होता है, उसको मिक्स कर दो पानी के साथ, and you make that slurry, and you spread the slurry on the leaves, and then you make a
ओके,
layer of the earth, and then you
हुँ,
put the leaves again, and then you spread the slurry of the
हुँ,
gobar, and then you put the mitti again, and then you spread the leaves again, and then you put the slurry, cow slurry in it. Cow slurry basically isko gobar ka slurry. सो दिस इज अनदर वे टू फासन द इफेक्ट। जो बैक्टीरिया उसके पेट में थे वो बाहर निकल आते हैं उसके साथ, तो वो बैक्टीरिया मल्टीप्लाई होते और वो खाने को पत्ते को खा करके उसको भी सड़ा देंगे वेरी फास्ट। So this is another trick that not many people are understanding. But when you put cow dung slurry into the waste or green waste, it decomposes the items very quickly. है ना?
ओके, वन मोर थिंग,
Yes,
जैसे ये जो गड्ढे में आप खाद बना रहे हैं, जैसे मिट्टी में सिंपल हम गड्ढा कर दिए और खाद बना लिए, तो इसका
right.
कोई स्पेसिफिक प्रोसेस है या सिंपल हम वेस्ट डाल रहे हैं और ढक दे रहे हैं?
Huh. If you are using this kind of simple techniques, this will take long because you are also be covering it up, na? You will not leave it
हाँ,
open because when you leave it open, the rats will come or something like that will come. या
हाँ,
मिट्टी के साथ आप थोड़ा सा मिक्स कर देंगे तो भी इसका एक वो हो जाएगा, फास्ट हो जाएगा और रेट्स भी नहीं आएंगे अगर मिट्टी से मिक्स किया तो। बट इफ यू जस्ट कवर इट अप लाइक दिस और इफ यू लीव इट लाइक दिस, इट विल टेक अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम, लाइक मे बी मोर देन अ मंथ.
ओके,
So again, if you put the cow slurry in this also, like you compost it like this and put the cow slurry on it and then you cover it, it will become faster. It is as
ओके,
if it has gone into the cow's stomach. You know, the only thing is that the cow chews on the grass, so it makes it into fine particles. और ये जो है वो फाइन पार्टिकल्स नहीं, ये बड़े बड़े पार्टिकल्स है, तो इसको टाइम लगता है सड़ने में. So it's all about a matter of time. आपके पास टाइम ले लेगा ये चीज. और that's why what some people do is they chop it up or they grind it up. और ये सब चीजें हेडेक कर जाती सब. But it takes a lot of time to do these kind of things. But definitely, if you are doing that, chopping it the green waste up, it fastens
तो
the.
इसको भी हमें अल्टी-पल्टी करना होगा, राइट?
If you're putting the cow slurry, you don't need to do that. The bacteria will
ओके,
find their way. But if you're
ओके,
just putting it like that, you have to turn it because to give the air, you know,
ओके,
because the
ओके,
cow slurry, it has bacteria which are working in the absence of air. Right? The cow's stomach is not having any oxygen, but still the
तो
bacteria are working. So those are anaerobic bacteria that are working. So if you use the cow slurry, there's no need to turn it. But if you are using just the pits, you have to turn it because you have to use aerobic bacteria,
ओके,
and for that you have to turn it. है ना?
तो काउ स्लरी मीन्स गोबर और पानी को
Yeah,
मिक्स कर
yeah,
दिए,
yeah.
उसको ही हम काउ
Exactly.
स्लरी बोल रहे हैं।
Exactly. That is also, by the way, a very good pesticide. We'll come to that also. Just now
ओके,
about the
ओके,
pesticide. The best pesticides is the cow slurry. I'm just adjusting this. Yeah.
थैंक यू।
Yes. So we are going to continue now. I skipped a slide and that slide was saying soil temperature. जो soil का temperature होता है वो बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है nutrient absorption में. Like imagine if you place a plant inside a deep freezer, what will happen? It will stay still, but it has been died. Like it will die in 24 hours, right? If you take a plant and if you put it near a fire, like not inside the fire, but just near the fire, what will happen? It will wilt away and it will die. So, similarly, the root system and the tentacles of the roots and all those function properly with the bacteria and the microbes, all the activities happening when the temperature is right. Now, basic temperature, I'll just skipping to the last point. Basic temperature that you need to maintain is 20 to 30 degrees. इससे ज्यादा होगा तो प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा, इससे कम होगा तो भी प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा. दिस इज द लाइक द गोल्डीलॉक्स, द स्वीट स्पॉट जिसमें मिट्टी का टेम्परेचर होना चाहिए. Not the temperature outside. I am talking about the temperature inside the soil. So this is the temperature. It should not go lower than this. The earthworms will start to move slowly and maybe die if it's getting lower than this temperature. And if it is higher than this also, the earthworms will go away and run inside there and they'll go in the lower area. So you need to maintain this temperature. So soil is a significant factor, especially in agriculture and land treatment of organic waste, because growth of biological systems is closely controlled by soil temperature. उसकी जो इन एंड आउट होता है सेल लेवल पे, जो डिविजन्स होता है, सेल्स मल्टीप्लाई होते हैं, वो सब चीजें इस टेम्परेचर के अंदर सही से हो पाता है बैक्टीरिया का और वायरसेस का. एंड दीज आर द वंस दे आर वर्किंग विद द सॉइल. सो आई एम रिटर्निंग टू दिस पॉइंट दैट हम लोगों को सॉइल को खाना देना नहीं है, बैक्टीरिया और माइक्रोब्स के लिए खाना तैयार करना है. आई रिपीट माई सेल्फ. अभी तक जितने भी एग्रीकल्चरिस्ट है, जितने भी यूनिवर्सिटी लेवल में जो बच्चे निकलते हैं, वो लोग को भी यही सिखाया जाता है कि सॉइल फर्टिलिटी बढ़ाने के लिए सॉइल के अंदर न्यूट्रिएंट्स डालो. It's not about making the soil fertile for the microbes and the viruses and the bacteria. बिकॉज यही सब लोग जो है लाखों करोड़ों की मात्रा में खाना बनाने का काम करते हैं पौधों के लिए. So if they are healthy, the food chain will continue to the root system and the roots will be healthy. If viruses and bacteria are healthy and earthworms are healthy, they will give food to the plant. So this is the one that we are trying to understand. The lesson started with biologically, this whole earth is a supreme balance. You know, life support system. If you remember that slide, the whole world is a biosphere. It is a supreme balance life support system. एक चीज दूसरी चीज को सपोर्ट कर रही है और वो हमको पता नहीं है या दिखता नहीं था अभी तक, इसलिए हम लोग उसको परेशानी मानते थे या हम लोग उसको कहते थे अर्थवर्म्स को क्यों खाना देना चाहिए, लेट्स किल आउट द अर्थवर्म्स. सो वी स्टार्टेड यूजिंग इनऑर्गेनिक फर्टिलाइजर. वो सब अर्थवर्म्स मर गए, उसके शव से ही तो बहुत सारा प्रोड्यूस हुआ उस साल पे. फिर अगले साल पे कम कैसे हो गया प्रोड्यूस आपका, क्योंकि अर्थवर्म्स मर गए थे. तो समटाइम्स यू विल थिंक दैट मैंने फर्टिलाइजर डाला और बहुत सारा प्रोड्यूस निकला. What that actually you have done is you have killed all the microorganisms and earthworms and bacteria, and उसके शव से जो न्यूट्रिएंट्स निकले हैं उसके न्यूट्रिएंट्स से आपको पाक बड़ा मिल गया. लेकिन आपने 5-10 साल के बाद वो कंटिन्यू करोगे प्रैक्टिस, दैट प्रैक्टिस इज नॉट सस्टेनेबल. योर सॉइल विल टर्न इनटू सैंड and your soil will turn into silt and your soil will turn into clay. This is all will happen, and this is actually happening almost all farms. That's why people and farmers are committing suicide. They don't understand that they have to give the humus, which is the carbon, which is the bacteria needs to be fed, so that they can uplift the सॉइल. एंड देन मक्खन जैसी आपकी जो सॉइल हो जाती, जब उसमें बहुत मात्रा में कार्बन होता है, यू जस्ट डिग लाइक दिस and it is as porous as it can be. Microbes, bacteria and viruses and ants and earthworms, all these things are creating their activity together organically, and you get a very very fertile landfill and soil, and then you get a good produce because of that. So temperature, as I mentioned, is a very important thing. So is the amount of carbon inside your soil. It's very important that you understand this. Don't feed the soil, feed the microbes and the bacteria and the organisms that need this carbon content. And this carbon content is in the waste, the organic waste basically. पत्ते जो है, छिलके जो है, उसके अंदर आपका किचन वेस्ट भी जो है, वो सब चीजें आ जाती है. All these are gold for these microbes and bacteria, right? Okay, so we'll move on now. These are the natural fertilizer packets. Okay, so I'll give a quick theory about this, that it's actually not even a theory, it's a fact. When the roots go down of a tree, most of you guys must be knowing in science that नीचे जो होता है वो bedrock होता है, मतलब एक बहुत बड़ा पत्थर होता है जिसके ऊपर पृथ्वी की सतह जो है वो ठहरती है. ऊपर की जो सतह है वो about 1 feet, 1.5 feet is soil. After that there are small pebbles and rocks, and then after that there's a very big bedrock. नीचे बहुत बड़ा पत्थर होता है. So the roots of a tree, not of a plant but of a tree, जो बड़ा tree होता है उसके roots जो होते हैं, नीम tree है, all this kind of this एड़ा का tree है, trees that are big, even fruit trees, they all grow their roots down into the bedrock and they dissolve the rock. You have to hear me again. They dissolve the rock and its nutrients by spraying the rocks with nitric acid, fluoric acid, and hydrochloric acid. These small amounts of acid they are producing in the root level, and the root produce these acids, and they dig into those rocks and they remove the minerals from the rocks, bring it up to the trunk, and make it into the foliage of the flowers and the leaves. And then when the work is done, they just fall the leaves on top of the surface of the earth. So ये जो साइकिल मैंने आपको बताई, पहले जो पृथ्वी की सतह थी वो बहुत बड़ी प्लेट थी, स्टेल, लार्वा आज भी निकलता है, कहीं पर भी आप देखो वोल्केनिक फटता है तो उसमें लार्वा कैसी ब्लैक सतह बन जाती है ऊपर, थिक लेयर ऑफ ब्लैक शीट, जैसे कि सॉलिड रॉक हो जाता है. उसके ऊपर मिलियंस एंड मिलियंस ऑफ इयर्स ऑफ वेदरिंग एंड प्लांट ग्रोथ हैव मेड दैट सॉइल. जो आपके पास इतनी सॉइल मिट्टी आपको देखते हो ना, आपके हाथ के अंदर आपकी मिट्टी आपके हाथ में आती है, दैट टेक्स मिलियंस एंड मिलियंस ऑफ इयर्स from plants to work on it, from weather to work on it, water, air, sunlight, all this is the breaking all the particles, the big chunks of rock there, and making it to fine soil that you see today. So this layer of soil that you are seeing anywhere in this earth is creation of the plants and the trees. So we have to be thankful for these plants and trees. So we have to be understanding how these things are living in harmony with us, with nature. We are living in harmony with the nature or not, that is a question. The plants are living in harmony with nature. They're taking the water, they're taking the sunlight, they're taking the nutrients and making it fertile. This is how what the plants are doing, every plant, you know. And then they are also adding like value, like they're making fruits and they're making um, tubers and all this kind of root systems that we can eat, also food for us and food for the animals also. So contribution factor, when you understand the law of nature, you stop being a consumer and you start being a contributor. You will understand this when you focus on this yourself. Right now what is happening is you are reprogrammed by my knowledge to understand that these laws are there, and you will slowly and surely understand that you will be a contributor in the future. आप कुछ कर पाएंगे, कुछ पानी के लिए कुछ कर पाएंगे, आप अर्थ के लिए कुछ कर पाएंगे, आप हवा के लिए कुछ कर पाएंगे आप. बट राइट नाउ अभी तक हम लोग इंक्लूडिंग मी, व्हाट आई वाज डूइंग इज आई वाज कंज्यूमिंग पानी. आज का पानी का दिन है, पानी ऑन कर दो, मोटर ऑन कर दो, पानी चला दो. नाउ व्हाट आई एम डूइंग इज, अभी रेनी सीजन है, 2 टंके मैंने ऊपर रख दिए, रेन का पानी होता है, उसको हार्वेस्ट करो, पूरा साल हम रेन का पानी पीते हैं. That's the mindset of contribution. You have contributed to preserving the water for yourself. You become a contributor once you know the laws of nature, once you understand their intrinsic relationships with one another. So you become part of that relationship, right? So this is a very important point I wanted to take. It took a little bit more time than necessary on this, but it's very important. Trees produce nitric acid, fluoric acid, and hydrochloric acid, dig into the bedrock, remove the minerals, and bring it up into the foliage and drop the foliage when the leaves die. And this foliage we collect, and what do we do with it? We burn it. This is how arrogant we are. This is how smart we are. ये जो काम करते हैं हम, जो प्रकृति तैयार करके आपको खातर दे रही है, आपको फर्टिलाइजर दे रही है, उसी को ही हम जला दे रहे हैं. वही चीज जो कंपोस्ट बन सकती है आपके लिए, रेडीमेड ह्यूमस बन सकती है, वी आर डूइंग व्हाट विद इट? We are burning it, and not in a small scale. We are burning it at a very large scale. Everywhere that we see the farmers, to get rid of the piles and piles of organic waste, what do we do it with? Just burn it. All you have to do is just make it into part of soil. आप soil के अंदर वापस डाल दो. That will be the house for the next bacteria and viruses. That will be the house for the earthworm, the food for the earthworm. That's all we need to understand. The farmers need to understand this. The growers and the planters like us need to understand this, right? So yes, we are going to go ahead now. Soil, balanced soil, and is a loamy soil, which is basically having the ability to give you the nutrients to the plants. Now you can see the color of the soil. It has small twigs here and the branches, a little bit of there, the leaves there. So this is decomposed organic waste matter mixed with silt, mixed with sand, and mixed with a little bit of clay. So this is called loamy soil. So that's what you need for your garden, or at least the plot of area that you're going to grow your garden. Okay. And the soil pH and the water pH is very crucial for the garden. You need to keep it between 6.5 and 7. Don't go either too acid, which is below than 6, and too base or alkaline, which is above 7, because that will harm the microbes and the bacteria, and they'll not be able to work properly, and then you'll have very bad produce, or you'll have plants which are not able to get the nutrients because the pH is high or too low. And then when the plants don't get the nutrients, the fruits, they start rotting away, or they start having a tip which is black or something like that. So you start seeing those kind of things happening when the pH is off. Okay, organic versus synthetic. We covered a little bit. What happens with the synthetic is that the synthetic is a dose of fertilizer at one go. So the root system do not develop in synthetic given fertilizers. On top of that, the microbes and the bacteria are dying in that area, so they don't develop here. But in organic waste, when you give the organic waste to the plant, the nutrients remain on the soil until they are needed by the plant. I'll repeat that. जितने भी न्यूट्रिएंट्स यहाँ पर रहते हैं वो इसके सॉइल के अंदर ही रहते हैं in insoluble form. That means in compounds that are not needed. It stays in insoluble form. When the plant requests the particular minerals, the bacteria convert that minerals into soluble form, and the plant uptakes that minerals and puts it into the fruit or flower or trees or branch or leaves. So that's how it works. So प्रकृति में जो है वो सब इनसॉल्युबल फॉर्म में न्यूट्रिएंट्स है। जैसे कि आपने गेहूं की रोटी को पकाते हैं, वैसे द बैक्टीरिया मेक द चपाटीज फॉर द प्लांट्स। दे आर द वंस हु रोस्ट द चपाटीज। लाइक इमेजिन इफ यू आर गिवन अ चपाटी बट इट इज नॉट रोस्टेड, उसको उसको पकाया ही नहीं गया, आपको कैसा लगेगा खाना उसको? दैट इज व्हाट हैपेंस व्हेन यू गिव अ सिंथेटिक fertilizer to the plants. That is why the plants of today's or the fruits of today's are not having any taste. The plants are just producing a fruit for the sake of fruit. इतना बड़ा फल होता है, उसमें मिठास कुछ भी नहीं होती है. Whereas when you stick to organic, you are knowing that the tomatoes are small, but they're very sweet. They're very, very sour sometimes. Whatever the fragrance is very beautiful if the organic produce. So all this is happening how? Because उस पौधे को खाना मिला था, वो पकी हुई चपाटी मिली थी. So soluble form of nutrients were given to that plant due to the bacteria and the viruses and the microbes, and they give it to the plant when the plant requests it. Until then, the plant just keeps on absorbing what it needs, and when it needs something, it gives a chemical signal in and around the surrounding area of the roots. Now those signals are picked up by the bacteria, because bacteria are biological organisms. They understand the signals and they convert this into soluble form of nutrients, and in return the plant gives back to the bacteria glucose. So ये आप समझ रहे कैसे एक दूसरे को लेन देन होती है, and that's how the whole system survives. अभी क्या होता है, वी वांट टू किल ऑफ द बैक्टीरिया, वी वांट टू किल द अर्थवर्म्स, और हमको ही चाहिए, मेरे को ही प्रोड्यूस चाहिए, मेरे को ही दो. व्हाट हैपेंस इन द प्रोसेस इज द प्लांट्स ग्रो शैलो रूट्स, क्योंकि आप फर्टिलाइजर दे रहे हो उसको, उसको डीप जाने की जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ती. और जब पानी ज्यादा मिल गया या कोई भी चीज आ गई, तो जैसे कि एक प्लांट आईसीयू में रखा है, वो कितना प्रोड्यूस करेगा? इफ यू कीप अ पर्सन इन आईसीयू, हाउ मच वर्क यू कैन एक्सेप्ट फ्रॉम हिम? So that is the kind of thing that is happening. Fruits are very, very shallow. They don't have any fragrance. They don't have any texture. They don't have any sort of good color also in the fruits. And organic produce, you know, okay, this is organic. It looks colorful also. There are oranges and pinks and yellows in it, you know, when it's ripe. So this is the thing you need to understand. I'll just read through the slides because actually technically I've just explained each one of them, but I'll just read through it. Nutrients released at the rate that plants can use, greatly reducing the chance of leaching or runoff. When you're using organic fertilizer, the runoff, पानी के द्वारा जो runoff हो जाता है fertilizer, वो रुक जाता है, वो पानी के साथ वहां पर ही ठहरता है, और वहां पर ही जो भी organic requirements है उस हिसाब से ही रह जाता है. वैसे जो केमिकल फर्टिलाइजर तो वो वाटर सोल्यूबल होता है, तो वो पानी के साथ बह भी जाता है ना. सो दैट इज द प्रॉब्लम विद chemical fertilizer. Microbes in the soil break down the organic matter, releasing the nutrients. As I said, when the plant needs it, the microbes are activated and they convert the insoluble form of calcium, magnesium, iron, zinc, whatever, into soluble form, and the plant takes it up. In return, the plant returns the favor by giving it glucose, and the bacteria survive like this, and requires fewer applications, which means less work over time. Organic waste, like you can put once and it will survive for 1 or 2, 3 harvests. Whereas this synthetic fiber, synthetic fertilizers, you have to keep on giving it at least once or twice in the middle of the harvest. Like even if it's not harvested, you have to keep on giving. यूरिया जो है वो एक दिन के लिए नहीं जाते वो देने के लिए. यूरिया खाद जो है वो 2-2, 3-3 दिन तक जाते रहते हैं. So this is the thing that you have to keep on giving chemical fertilizers more often compared to organic, which you just give in one harvest, and then it works for 1 year also. You don't have to worry about it. Controlled growth doesn't overstimulate plants or promote strong root growth. I said this organic waste promotes strong roots growth. The roots go deeper and deeper, and because organic soil is porous, because of the microbes and the bacteria and the viruses, the roots go easily deeper. This is another thing, because of the soft and porousness of the soil which is there in organic soil. Reliant on soil temperature, cooler soil equals to slower release, which corresponds to the rate the plants can take up the nutrients. Now when the bacteria and the viruses are there in the soil, you can imagine they are alive, so they are also generating some sort of heat, and that heat is enough for the plant and also the exchange of mineral and nutrients. But when you are killing the bacteria and viruses and earthworms, your soil will be temperature will be dependent on the outside temperature. So जो भी बाहर का टेम्परेचर होगा वही soil का टेम्परेचर होगा. So at night the soil temperature will drop, and during the daytime the temperature will increase. So your root system of the synthetically given fertilizers will be never be able to be happy. And when the root system is not good, the fruit system will not be good. It's so simple to understand. When the roots are weak, the fruit will be weak. When the root are be strong and healthy, the fruit will be healthy. The strong, the shoots will be, So this is a simple way to understand it. So when there's organic activity happening, the soil temperature also remains at a moderate level that the plant also enjoys to work with, because of the bacteria and the viruses and the earthworms generating that kind of heat, or they're generating that kind of moisture. When the plant is suffering from moisture, जैसे कि बहुत दिन तक आपने पानी नहीं दिया, the earthworms will release water from their body so that the soil cools down in that area. Are you remembering this? Because when the water is coming down, it fills itself up with the water and it holds it like a jug. And now when there's a lot of heat around it, nobody is watering the plant in it, all these things, the earthworms will go low inside, stay cool, and also release water from their body to keep themselves cool, just like when we sweat. So what happens is this moisture travels up again and is absorbed by the roots of the trees that are growing in an organic environment. So this is very important. Long lasting, obviously, that's very easy to understand because this kind of thing is sustainable. You cannot go for 100 years on inorganic fertilizers, but you can go for 100 years using organic waste and organic produce, green waste. You can just put it in your plot and it will keep on going on for hundreds of years. Synthetic fertilizers, I'll not go too deep into this. I've just covered it with that. The root system is shallower compared to this. You can see the root system is deeper, right? This root system is shallow here. The plant growth depends very highly on synthetic fertilizers. So it's dependent on that. The water also does not penetrate the root system because the soil is compact. There is no earthworms, there is no gap left by the bacteria and viruses. तो जो जमीन होती है वो दब जाती है, एंड जो दबी जमीन होती है उसमें पानी भी गिरता है, तो पानी गिर करके उसको ट्रिकल डाउन होने के लिए टाइम नहीं होता है, तो द सरफेस रन ऑफ हैपेंस, पानी ऊपर से टहल जाता है. So this is what is part of the problem of the earth is there is so much cement, there is so much use of chemical fertilizers in the farms that the water is washing away out of the farm. It is not seeping into the farms. दिस इज द थिंग इज हैपनिंग. वैसे भी डेवलपमेंट की वजह से बहुत सारी जगह पर हम लोगों ने सीमेंट डाल दिया, रास्ते रास्ते बना लिए, बट इवन इन फार्म्स नाउ व्हाट आर वी डूइंग? वी आर यूजिंग केमिकल्स एंड दैट टू इन मिलियंस एंड मिलियंस ऑफ लीटर्स. So these things are dying out. When they die out, the soil goes compact. Literally नीचे बैठ जाती है जमीन आपकी. Porousness नहीं होती है. It doesn't act like a sponge. So when the water comes, the rain washes off on top of the layer of the soil because it does not get time to go in the deep of the soil. So this is another thing of using chemical fertilizers. You will have surface runoff, and obviously that surface runoff takes away the nutrients also. जो आपने डाले थे वो न्यूट्रिएंट्स भी रन ऑफ हो गए क्योंकि वाटर सॉल्युबल आपने फर्टिलाइजर डाला था, तो वो भी गया, इसलिए अगले साल आपको फिर से फर्टिलाइजर डालना पड़ेगा. सो इट्स लाइक अ विशियस साइकिल. आप पैसे जो है वो उसको कमा करके उसको ही देते हो, केमिकल फर्टिलाइजर को, केमिकल पेस्टिसाइड्स वाले को, hybrid seeds वाले को, you have to have your own seed system, you have to have your own fertilizer and organic fertilizers and ways of making this cyclic inside your farm only or inside your house only. Just running through it quickly. We are nearing the end of your time, but I'll just run through quickly. Synthetic fertilizers give gardens a quick but short-lived boost of nutrients, which can cause rapid growth at the expense of developing a strong root system. We just covered that. Water soluble in most forms, hence can contaminate the various water bodies. जब पानी के साथ मिल जाता है, ऐसी खाद है आपके पास, तो वो पानी के साथ मिल करके भी चली भी जाएगी आपके खेत से बाहर when you overwater it. Because nutrients are released quickly, more applications will be required. ये जो आपने एक बार डाला उसके अंदर यूरिया एक बार डाला तो आपको 2-3 बार आपको उसके एप्लीकेशन को डालना पड़ेगा. Whereas कंपोस्ट के द्वारा या ऑर्गेनिक वेस्ट के द्वारा आपने आपकी जमीन को फलद्रुप किया है, फर्टाइल किया है, you don't have to keep on repeating the applications. Short term solution to a long term need. This is a very important sentence. जो सॉल्यूशन कर रहे हैं आप, शॉर्ट टर्म सॉल्यूशन कर रहे हैं, आप बहुत शॉर्ट साइटेडनेस सोच रहे हो कि मैं मेरे को अभी के अभी प्रोड्यूस मिल जाए. एंड बाय द वे दिस इज हैपनिंग because people are giving contract farmers the work. We are owning the farm. For example, I have a farm of 10 acres, but I'm giving it to a farmer who is not exactly a farmer but who knows farming. उसको कॉन्ट्रैक्ट दे दे, तो मेरे वती से कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करो 5 साल का या 2 साल का या 1 साल का, और उसके अंदर से जो भी पाक होगा वो हम लोग 50-50 करेंगे. सो व्हाट दैट फार्मर विल डू इज he will put all the things that they will destroy your soil, destroy your land, but give the highest of produce. Big produce मिलेगा, मार्केट में बिक गया, मेरा काम खत्म, 1 साल खत्म हो गया, बाय बाय. That is the thing that is happening. Contract farming is the reason where organic farming is lagging behind. We need to take back into the account what we are doing with the earth when we do this kind of things. Either you have a contract farming with organic in your mind, then that's a long-term project, like it's like a 5 years or 10 years project, because you are feeding the microbes and the bacteria and the viruses first. Once they get happy, once they are in concentrated amount, once they are high in numbers, then they start to give fruit back to you, which is the root system of the plants or the trees, and then they start producing fruits and flowers after a while. So it takes a long time. Basically, if you have a plot of land or any garden which is lying barrel, you will first have to fill it up with organic waste. And that, by that I mean organic or compounds, like you just use directly vermi compost, yeah, compost soil. You can buy it from outside or you can make it yourself. So this all will take time, but you have to also understand that that time invested is very crucial for your long term needs. Okay. Understanding the roles of the insects. So we will just watch this video. I think we will not be able to
This real
watch much today on about from this. Maximum what we'll do is we are try to understand the repellents of the insects. It's actually quite long. What I would suggest is maybe we can take the insects tomorrow, and that will actually be the better idea. Let me just do this thing with you, where that I take this insects chapter tomorrow, because it's another big long chapter and it's very important how insects play a crucial role into your garden. So what I will do is I'll just skip the part and I'll just say what the water's need is into the garden. And before that, we just want to conclude the pH of the soil and the, yeah, let me just let's just skip the whole insect part. We don't need to start it even. But yeah, we'll also talk about how to control the pests if they come tomorrow. And just let's go with the water, like what and how the water works into your gardens. So we all know that the water is actually the one which gives us the fruit or the trees the exchange of chemicals. Like पानी के बिना कोई भी चीज exchange नहीं होती है, you know. So that is required even in photosynthesis. You need water, so that is the function of the water, the element of the water, how it functions in the water in every aspect, from photosynthesis to making the flowers to making the fruit. Water is very important. It's like a carrier, you know. सब जगह पर उसकी कीमत है, सब जगह पर उसकी जरूरत है. So we need to know what kind of water we are using in our gardens. Like for example, if it's hard water, बहुत सारा कैल्शियम और मैंगनीज कार्बोनेट डिपॉजिट्स है पानी के अंदर. हार्ड वाटर बेसिकली बोर का पानी जिसको कहते हैं, उसमें बहुत सारा हार्ड मेटल्स होते हैं, हार्ड न्यूट्रिएंट्स होते हैं उसमें, हार्ड एलिमेंट्स होते हैं उसमें. So what happens is, I'll just give you a quick vision of it. This is the picture of a plant that is watered with hard water. You can see the end of the tips. These tips are turning brown because the plant tries to push off the hardness of the water, the carbonates and the manganese carbonates, the calcium carbonates, all these other are concentrated here at the tips. So आपको लगेगा आप पानी तो अच्छे से दे रहे हो, तो प्लांट में ऐसे कैसे हो रहा है? तो the plant is receiving water which is hard water. So that's why these tips are holding over the hard elements, calcium carbonate, manganese carbonate, and all these things are held here. So this is the thing that you need to understand. So how do you aware yourself from this? Like, what do you do to better your water or better your soil? So you need to know the pH of your water. The pH of your water, as I said, is has to be as good as rainwater. So the best, I mean, the ideal way to do is to do gardening in rainwater. That is not possible because year round you will not get the rain. Some places get the rain, which is a good thing. You need to collect that rainwater. You know, okay, you will say that maybe the rainwater is a little bit acidic because बहुत सारा धुआं होता है, नाइट्रस ऑक्साइड होता है हवा में, नाइट्रस ऑक्साइड नीचे आता है तो नाइट्रिक एसिड बन जाता है रेन वाटर में, और रेन में एसिड रेन भी बन जाता है. So how do you counter that? So you put a little bit of limestone in the water. So that is calcium carbonate that dissolves the acidity part of it and makes it balanced again. So it's a simple piece of paper that you get, the litmus paper. You get it in small strips, like you have like maybe even for as little as 10 rupees. I think you get it from chemist shops or shops that have chemical compounds with them for schools and all that. You get a 10 packet like litmus papers, very thin litmus papers. You can just cut up those litmus papers and just try to identify and dip into the water that you have, and you understand the pH of your water, and based on that you can make a decision. So if it is too alkaline, yeah, too base, what do? You need to make it acidic. So how do you do make it acidic? You put buttermilk in it. Buttermilk is acidic, right? So don't throw away all your buttermilk that you are collecting over the days. Like एक वीक में आपने बहुत सारी छाछ बना ली, छाछ, buttermilk, लस्सी, जो भी होता है, it has a lot of acid component in it, and that is organic way acidic. So it's not harmful to the plants. So what you do is, if your water has a lot of base, like you find out the pH first. If it has a lot of base, then you mix that with chash, with buttermilk, with lassi, and that you use to water your plants. So you will giving the water, the balanced water to the plants. If your water is acidic and it's not base, base is the other side, right? Base को balance करने के लिए आपने acid डाल दिया तो बीच में आ गया. What if your water is acidic already? You need to bring it to near the neutral, which is you need to put the base in it. So what is the base? Neem. Neem is a very good base. जो भी चीज कड़वी होती है, whatever is bitter is actually base, and whatever which is sour is acidic. Soda is acidic because it is sour a little bit. Chash or lassi or buttermilk is acidic, that is how it's sour. What is bitter is base. So you have to keep this in mind. आपका जो pH है वो 6 है, 5 है, 4 है, तो आपका पानी acidic हो गया. So what do you need to put in it? You need to put neem leaves, the juice of neem leaves you can put in, and you bring the pH back to 6. If your pH is base, बहुत सारा base है उसमें, 7, 8, 9 हो गया आपका पानी का pH, then you need to bring it back to near acidic level, so you put buttermilk in it, and that's how you bring it to the normal, right? So this is the one of the ways how you can neutralize the water, because it is an important carrier of nutrients and it's needed occasionally. So you have to be very careful of what type of water you have, especially if you have a small garden. You keep these small things into account, you will have a very good produce, right? So if you're not getting any clarification, you can just post a message and we'll just discuss it again once more. I'm sure that to the new people who want to do gardening, these are very funny almost and very new things, but they are very, very important. The pH of the soil and the pH of the water for gardening is very important, right? It transports nutrients, we all are aware of that. It supports the plant, like every cell is full of cellulose, and that cellulose, that cell material which is inside every cell wall, is the cellulose, and which holds the plant together is the water. So every stem, every leaf is held together properly with the water. So it's really important that you have the right type of water given to the plants. Transpiration. Now this is very important. Last we will just discuss this a little bit deeper. We are 7 minutes over, but yeah, let me just discuss this. Water evaporates from each and every leaf. Like there is a stomata inside in the lower part of the leaf, and that releases a micro level of water. And that's how, when you're standing under a neem tree or any sort of big tree, you will feel that coolness continuously. So how is that possible? So it's like small micro jets are working at that point, and they're releasing a small amount of water, and that water is evaporating, and it's taking away the heat in the environment, and it's evaporating up. So what you feel is a cooling effect. Just like when we sweat, we are sweating, a small microscopic pores on our skin are releasing the water. That water takes away the heat of your body and evaporates. So when it is evaporating, it is taking away the heat of your body, and in the process you feel cool there. So that's how the transpiration works also in the plants. So it's really important that when we are having plots of land, lots of empty land, and we grow trees in it, we are actually helping to lock in the water and stay that water over that place. And the root structures and all those things are holding thousands, not even thousands, maybe 1 or 2 tons of water. Every big tree can hold 1 or 2 tons of water, and that's how it releases small amounts of it every time into microjets, which is called transpiration, and that's how the whole tree area stays cool. So this is very important, you know. So this is how it happens. Without this transpiration, the plants will not be able to survive, because the leaves are so wavering in the heat, in the summer heat, but yet they are not getting baked in the sun. How is this possible? If that leaf, or if we leave our hand outside in the sun also, we will feel that pinch. You know, we cover our glasses of the car with black tint, but these trees are just growing outside. How are they able to survive this? Because they have a small jets which are releasing small, very very small micro droplets of water, and they're keeping the leaf cool. When the leaves are cool, so many leaves are cool, the whole tree stays cool, and the whole tree functions properly in that type of heat area. Okay, water also removes the waste from the cell at the cell level, and that water is the one which is taking away the waste. Now, most of you would be asking me, okay, where is the waste going? So the waste is as simple as leaves. Like what happens is, when the leaf is actually functioning, if the leaf has functioned its work properly, the leaves will fall down and will die. So this is how the leaf actually gets deposits of waste in that, and when that is full of deposits, it just drops the leaves. So every leaf that you see which has fallen off from the tree, it has functioned its work properly, and once it functioned its work properly, it just drops the leaves, and those leaves are full of the waste that the tree was making. Right? Some trees remove sap from their branches or their trunks, so that's another way of the waste we remove. So basically, it's part of the water which is doing this. It's going all around the tree, and it's removing the waste and putting it to the leaves, or putting it to the sap of the trunk. So in today's lecture, we'll just summarize now. Like this is the pH. Like if your leaves are looking like this is the pH is or too low. So it's basically too acidic. So this is how your leaves will start looking. So today's summary, we have not covered this part in the importance of insects, but we'll do that tomorrow definitely. So garden is a facilitator. Like we need to understand that we need to facilitate food for the organisms, food for the microbes, food for the viruses and bacteria. So we need to facilitate them. Once we do that, they start working for us. ये बहुत crucial point है. We need to feed the servants so the servants start working for us. It's as simple as that. आप एक वर्कर को भी रखोगे, you will have to pay him from 300 to 500 depending on your place where you employ him or what kind of skills he has. You have to pay him a minimum of 300 to 500 rupees, right? In today's day and age. These are in numbers of lakhs and crores, viruses and bacteria, and they're all wanting to work free if you just feed them organic waste, that being leaves, that being kitchen waste, that being your green peels and all these kind of things, you know. So that's all they need to eat, and that's all they need to survive to work for you. So provide the compost for the microorganisms, the rest almost takes care of it and itself. So this is what I'm trying to say. Through the law of normalization, all those workers will work for you, and they'll create a habitat which is a normal habitat for the plant to function properly. Soil which is full of humus, basically humus means organic waste, decomposing, green waste, orange peels, potato peels, all these things comes in the humus. From decaying organic waste is best for plant growth. To maintain this, you need to feed the microorganisms well. Again, the same thing that we are discussing till now. Supply good amount of organic waste regularly and keep the soil covered at all times, just like the forest floors in the wild. So every floor of the forest, is covered with leaves which are dead, and if you remove those layer of leaves, you will see a lot of activity. A lot of insects are working, the going inside deeply, ants are working, microbes and bacteria, obviously you cannot see them working, but they are there. So they are working in the shade of the sun. So these activities is happening in the shade, so you need to make sure that your garden is a little bit shady. Like, that's how the viruses and bacteria will be able to function in the good temperature. They need to be shaded. So this is one important thing. It's important to understand insects. We will get to learn that tomorrow. pH of the soil is more important. pH of the water is really important. Stick to 6 to 7 for the optimal growth and plant health. Now, as I said, if your pH is too high, that means it's basically alkaline or base. If it's too high, you bring it to the middle. How do you bring it to middle? You use a little bit of acid. If your pH is too low, which means it's too acidic, then you bring it back to the base level. How do you bring that? You pull it with base. So what is the base? It's like something which is bitter, neem leaves. You can grind them up, or you can put them into cow slurry, and then you just leave it in there for a couple of days, and the extract comes out into the cow slurry, and that cow slurry you can use with your water, and that will be the perfect way to balance the the pH of your water. So once again, I'm always running late again. We are 15 minutes into the time. Questions, I'll need questions. If you want to ask me questions, you can leave voice messages or a video message in the group, and we'll be able to attend that there. And any other type of queries that you have, you can also put in the group. We will be surely feel one with you when we are doing it together like this. Any questions that you ask me actually creates more awareness from me to you also, and you will also get to know what I have to offer to you. So I welcome all the questions in the group. We are over time, so we'll not take any more time. If there is any queries again in the group, let's continue there. And I'm ending the session now, and we'll meet tomorrow. We're continuing with the importance of insects. Thank you.
Thank you.